so we can have it for reference later. The meetup is going to be 90 minutes long, and you know, it'd be good if you could have your video on when you're speaking, so we kind of get to know you. We'll have it kind of personal. If you're not speaking, if you have the presence of mind, mute your mic so that any background noise doesn't disturb things. And of course, I have a dog, so I may be guilty of it, but there's not much I can do about that, I guess. And so also bear in mind, this is being recorded, and it will be shared after the session. We'll probably post it tomorrow sometime, and we'll send out a link for that. And go from here, go up a bit. You've kind of gone through introductions a bit already. As I mentioned, I'm Kerry Wolf. I'm the host. I have a web development company called WP Wolf Press here in the Atlanta area. I've been building websites now it's 2021. I've been building websites for 26 years. I've been doing WordPress probably about 10, and using Elementor for a little over 3 years. And Brian, you want to introduce yourself? There you go.
Sorry about that, guys. Hi, my name is Brian Griffin. I am the general manager for a company, small marketing company here in Atlanta called Printco. We specialize in all forms of marketing, either digital or your traditional marketing services, as well as products. And I have been building websites for about 5 years and using Elementor for 1.5 years.
Cool beans. All righty. So tonight we're going to talk about, as mentioned, using Elementor will jumpstart your development with site settings. Now, site settings was introduced with Elementor 3.0, and I think there has been some confusion. I know particularly when it first came out about how that all works, and we're going to go through that. But if you take the time to set up your site settings before you start building your website, you can save yourself a lot of time down the road in all different kinds of ways. And you can help make your brand stay consistent, and any future style changes would be easier to do. That has been my experience. Because as I mentioned, I've been building Elementor sites for a while now. So I have Elementor sites that I built 2 years ago that I really wish I had site settings for, because it's kind of like, 2 years ago, they didn't have, theme builders and all that kind of stuff. So you want to change a heading color, you've got to hunt down all the instances of that heading to change the color. At least the way I built them way back when, not knowing any better. So hopefully what we'll walk away with tonight is some ideas about how to just make it easier to get going and to save time. So we've already done that part. We're good with that. Using site settings will save you time creating new content, changing styles globally. It can free you up to experiment. Like if you've set up your site settings and you decide, what if I make the header, the H1 tag, a purple instead of a blue? Well, you can go in and do that, and it'll change it all through the site. And you can see, I don't like that. I can put it back to blue, no problem. And if you have clients that want to change their mind about stuff like that a lot, it can help there. You can set up a brand color palette ahead of time. When your customers get their color and you can have those plugged in so that the site stays consistent with their brand. And then another thing that we'll look at is most everything regarding styles. You can find access now inside of the Elementor editor. Now, before, if you wanted to customize some CSS, let's say, you'd have to go out, go to the customizer, do that, come back into Elementor. Now you can access it all inside the Elementor editor. And then, of course, it'll help you maintain a consistent look and feel for your brand. And so let's check it out. We'll go to, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. So I've set up a page. I use this in my starter site. Sharon last month gave an awesome presentation on setting up a starter site. Well, one of the things that I have in my starter site is a page that I just have in there that has multiple different kinds of content that I can use to sort of set the styles for the website I'm building. And I just call it a brand style page. It has headings and different kinds of text. It's got buttons and form, and you can add whatever you want. I've just got a few items in here to kind of illustrate how we can use this. So this is what the front end page looks like. And this is the same page inside Elementor editor. Now we've got doing it two different ways here. Right here, this is all from the text editor to show that this will work for text editors as well as Elementor elements. So this is an Elementor element, and this is an Elementor element. But all of this is actually inside the text editor, which would be kind of equivalent if you had set up a template for, let's say, a single post template, and your client or you, when they're entering content, they're actually doing it in either the Gutenberg editor or they're doing it in the Classic editor. They're just doing this kind of stuff. But these styles we're setting will apply on that too. So it's really, really cool. Okay, so we're probably used to seeing this type of stuff. But so how do you get to the site settings? Well, the site settings are this little hamburger menu up here. And if you click on that, you'll see site settings. Now there's other things in here too, but we're not going to go into those today, but we're interested in site settings. And you're in site settings as it's thinking. When you see this blue area up at the top, you're in the site settings. So it's been my experience that it's best you just kind of work your way down. We've got global colors and global fonts. In the old Elementor, these were called default colors, default fonts. And they come with the global fonts kind of come with global colors come with default Elementor colors. And they have labels and the hex definitions for them. And then we have the global fonts. Now what we will want to do is set up the global colors and the global fonts first, because this sort of trickles down, because you will set your typography and any of the other styles using the global colors and global fonts, and you'll be able to do that from inside the Elementor editor going forward. We'll show you that. But first, let's set up some global colors. Now, the way this, I think the thinking behind this is, whatever your color palette may be, your primary color and your secondary color would go here, and your text color and accent could be things like links, that sort of thing. But we can change the name of them if we want. But for the time being, I'm just going to set up some colors I picked ahead of time. And just going to pop those in there. So I'm changing the colors. Going to do the secondary color. And text, I'm going to leave the same. The accent color, I'm going to use orange. And you may ask, where are you getting these colors? Well, these are actually colors from another website that I've just used. Let's open that back up. Now, these saved colors, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to say linked text. And I'm going to use this same gold color. So when I have a link, let's say in my in a text, and I say what I want it to be, I can use this color to determine it. Okay, and then this color I don't need. So if we go over here, we can hit the little trash can and delete that color. Yes, I want it to go away. And this is black and this is white. And I'm just going to go ahead and label them as such. Okay, of course, we can add other colors if we want, but we don't. So we'll delete that, and I'm going to update. Okay, so you'll notice nothing has changed here. And not supposed to. So let's go back to where we were, and we can set global fonts. And I'm going to make the primary headline a open sans. Just click on it and you can search the Google fonts. Then I'll make that there. And this is when they say primary headline, you can read, that means H1. So we'll go, let's say 48 pixels. And we'll have that be weight of 600. And I'm going to make the line height 1.4. And then secondary headline, I'm going to still use open sans. And I'm going to make that 36 pixels. And let's go ahead and make it 602. And line height 1.4. And the body text, I'm going to make open sans. And make that 18. Yeah, let's make it 18. And I'm going to make the line height here a little bigger. And accent text is going to be, I'm going to have it be exactly the same. It'll be the same size. It's just going to be a different color. And line height 1.5. Okay. And of course, I could add other styles if I wanted, but I'm going to say update. Okay, now we've done all this, and let's go back to typography. Now you get this message, which is added to some of the confusion about site settings. It says, in order for theme styles to affect all relevant Elementor elements, please disable default colors and fonts from the settings page. well, let's see, what does that mean? It means go to your Elementor settings page and disable default colors. And, you know, that could be confusing because on one level, it seems like, well, isn't that what we're setting, the default colors? But, and this is something that has been raised, that this is confusing. But it is what it is. Please disable
Uncheck
default
things
color.
that you disable in the
I'm
element
sorry?
in the Elementor settings. As long as you leave those unchecked, that will disable the default colors.
Okay. Let me get back to where I was here. Okay. My Zoom stuff is getting in the way here. Okay.
So then when you set them here, they should automatically take over as long as you have those settings unchecked in the Elementor settings.
Right. But it seems like if you read it,
I know
it would be the other way. It's very confusing.
it is.
So
you have to read it.
that yeah, because checking them is Sharon. I'm assuming I can't. Yeah, that's Sharon talking.
Yes.
Checking them would disable. It's kind of confusing, but let's go back. So we've got those unchecked. So
It's saying it's going to disable Elementor's default colors, which is going to be this. And if you leave them, I'm sorry, the verbiage, if you go back and it says it'll disable the Elementor's default colors, which is what you're setting here, and make the Elementor inherit the colors from your theme. So anything you set here, if you have your box checked here, those site settings won't even apply.
okay, let's give it a whirl and see. So we're going to go into typography, and let's see, the text color is going to be, now these global things here, we can set the color here, which is probably what you're used to. You could set it here, but that is for this particular instance. We want to set
very young in the 80s, but yeah, sort of.
Sorry? Okay. So anyway, to set the global, the global colors, we'll pick the color that we have. Let's see here. We'll say text here. The typography is going to be body text. Of course, we can see it changes weight and size. And then the link, let's see here if this works. Earlier today, I was testing this, and sometimes you, depending on the cache, you can kind of bogs it down. But let's say the normal link, yeah, do that. Of course, we can see that the link text changes, and then the typography would still be the same. And on hover, let's make the color, I'm going to make it just we'll just do that so we can see it, and typography is not going to change. Then we can go ahead and set the H1 colors. I'm going to make that a blue, and I'm going to make it actually, I'm going to use the global. See, you got to break yourself. See, when it's blue, that means it's using the global, and we want these all, if we're going to be using them blue. So I'm going to go ahead and set this. And then for the typography for H1, We use the primary header. And H2, I'm going to have it be the same color. It really does take some time getting out of the habit. You can see down here we have an H2. And I'm only going to go down to H3. I'm going to take the color and make it that color. And I'm going to take the typography and make it secondary, but I'm going to adjust it a bit. I'm going to make that 24. Now these will change across. Now you see that I'm not using the global fonts settings. I could if I had set an H3, which probably would have been a good idea. But the font size should stay the same unless I change it. And I'm not going to go down to H4, so I'm going to okay, so we go back, and then you got buttons. Let's see. It's already kind of that gold color because I think it's picking up the accent color. And I'm going to do the typography of the button as body text. I'm going to make the text color white. Background color is already picking up the accent. And for the hover, I'm going to do this. And then for the background color, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make it just a little transparent. It's a little different. And we could put box shadows on it if we wanted. We could put borders. All these settings will affect buttons globally. You can always change individual instances in your Elementor editor. And we can do things with images. Let's say we got an image here. Let's say border type. Well, I don't want to put a border. Let's do a border radius. See how it's rounding the corners? Let's take it down a bit. And let's say I want to add a box shadow. Do that. Now we do this and save it. Every image that we load in just off the cuff is going to have this style applied to it. You can undo it, but it would automatically look that way. And then form fields we can affect. Got a form down there. See, it's already made this. The accent color label. Let's make it blue. Secondary. Whoops, too big. Body text. Didn't pick up the blue. It's interesting. And field. And then text color. This is for the field, which I believe is right here. We could do this. And let's see what else we got we can play with here. Here's focus. We could take the text color, make it that, but then make it a little transparent. So if we go over let's see if we can make that. Huh. See, it just gets a little bit darker. And we can do border radiuses. Well, that's on focus. See how the corners change when we are in it? Okay. And we can work with the padding and all kinds of stuff. So then, so these are built out using the global colors and global fonts. So we have to do the global fonts and global colors first, and then build out these items. Because I know that when this first came out, there was some confusion about which took precedence and how, sort of the order of hierarchy. Do these first, and then flesh out this. And then if you're in actually, well, we'll get to that in a second. I was going to say, we get into actually editing something in Elementor. We still have access to these global settings on. I'll show you that in a sec. And one of the other things that's really cool about site settings is we don't have to go to the customizer for everything or for many things. Like we can set the site identity. We can help set the name of the site. We can upload our site logo. We can upload the favicon. We can set background color if we want. Layout, this is handy to go with what do you want your website site to be. You can do that here. You can set your breakpoints. Right now, they only have 2 breakpoints. I know that a lot of people have been harping on wanting to have 3 or 4 breakpoints. Hopefully, we'll see that soon. And of course, custom CSS. You no longer have to go to the customizer to do your custom CSS. You can do custom CSS sometimes in an individual element, but sometimes you have global CSS. You can do it all here, and you're still in the Elementor editor. So I think we're pretty much done with that. So let's go back here, close that.
So Carrie, I just want to interject. It's Sharon again. In that custom CSS, if you want more than the breakpoints that are showing, you can write media queries there in your custom CSS. But
absolutely,
as well, if they understand by doing that they need to write the code for the breakpoints they're adding, because that won't be there. They'll have to add all the CSS that goes with those media queries.
Right. Do y'all understand what she's talking about? If you go to
I would say this would be for hardcore people who have been used to working with CSS and setting up.
Right.
So,
what she's talking about in the CSS, you would have something that looked like this. That are y'all still seeing my screen here?
Yeah.
I don't see it highlight. Okay. Where it says, and this would go into your style sheet. This says it's a media query that says for screens a maximum width of 600 pixels. You can change this to whatever you want. Sometimes they'll do a min width, but mostly max width, and you put in your styles that you want. Because you see, this goes with this curly bracket, and then your styles go inside that. So that's what Sharon's talking about. You certainly can do that. One of the things that I'm hoping will come along is to be able to set breakpoints and have them reflected in the editor. Like, for instance, when you go, like we can preview on tablet and mobile but this is preview for 768 and for 360. And that 360 for me is kind of small. Most people's phones are, and we're talking about width right now. Most people's phones are wider than that. And so, but it'd be great if you could set breakpoints and name them, and then they would appear here. Because sometimes if you have a very complicatedly designed page, there's weird places in between, say, desktop and tablet, where things get wonky and you'd have to rearrange, but you can't really see what it's doing with this. So you have to do what Sharon talked about, creating the custom media queries. But let's walk before we run. So we're in just a regular Elementor editor, and but we can still well, this is a text editor. That's not so easily done. Let's duplicate. I'm going to right click and duplicate that, and I'm going to delete this, right click, delete, and I'm going to say, I'm going to choose this, actually, this button, or this text that says button, title, and I'm going to go to style, and you can see right now I'm using a global color, but I can change that. I can make it whatever I want, and let's say I make it that color. Well, now it's this magenta color, but notice that the little globe here is no longer blue. So that tells me that I'm not using a global color. But if I was using a global color, it would be blue. So that's kind of the clues that you get with that. Let's see. What else? So
all right.
That's a real quick overview of the site settings. Anybody have any questions?
I have an observation regarding the break.
Okay. Sure.
Regarding the breakpoints, I'm sorry, let me turn the video on. I'm sorry. Regarding the breakpoints, if you go to site settings and in the layout, you can change that 768 and whatever the value was. You can play with it, and you can do that in the middle of the development, and it's going to adjust to the different points that you can use while they come up with the 3 or 4 breakpoints.
Well, I'm not sure I'm following you, but we can set there right now. As far as I know, we have 2 breakpoints that we can set, at least in part of the Elementor settings, and these can be different, or at least change them. But the thing is, the pain of it is, if I change these here, it doesn't change it here. At least I don't think.
Oh, I get it. Because
see, if I want to preview it, I'm seeing what it looks like at 768.
Regardless of what you have on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's test and verify. Let me get back to desktop. Let's go hamburger menu, site settings, layout, breakpoints. Let's say the tablet breakpoint. Now see, it says breakpoint is at 1025. I remember when they did that, they said it was to accommodate the iPad Pro. So it's what we see at tablet. This formatting, whatever we've done, if we set to columns to a certain number of columns, this actually kicks in at 1025. So let's go back to the desktop and I'll show you. Let's go to the front end. I'm going to reload the front end. Of course, there's nothing really strange going on, and if I'm going to right click that, inspect it, and you'll see the right-hand corner where look up here where you'll see that it's showing me the dimensions. So I get to 1025. Now it's in tablet mode, although there's nothing particularly unusual about, let's say, I don't want to go down that rabbit.
Fill with whatever.
I'm sorry?
Make a 2-column section on the page to see if it just
Right.
moves it.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Okay, and let's say.
But that's not going to work because that column is not as wide. Do it on the form. There we go.
So if we went to tablet, let's say that at tablet I want this to go to 100%, and this one to 100%. Okay, let's go back to the front end. Okay, so now we're watching the size should pop to one column at 1024 or 1025. There it goes. See?
There you go.
It picks up tablet mode 1025. So those previews are kind of misleading. So when, but that's just the nature of the business, you know. So you might have to, like Sharon said, if you had this, if you knew how to, you might need to make a break point, say at a different size, or you could go back into site settings and the layout breakpoints. You could change it. You could change this to 768 and then change the mobile to a lower number, whichever suited you. But
And I would say really only write your media queries if you're working for a company that has to have pixel perfect on every screen. I worked for, believe you me, I worked for companies that had to have pixel perfect screen size for everything. So unless you have to do that, stick with these. And then, you know, if your client says, hey, somebody says, oh, I can't see, you know, the website looks crappy, and it depends on the device, you know, these are just, I think the default, yeah, of what they consider to be the most, covers the most coverage.
Yeah, and if you're, you know, somebody, you know, there's a lot of different kinds of people that come to our meetups. There's people that are hobbyists. There's people that are doing it for their own business, but there are people who make websites. That's their job, or the job they want to learn how to get good at it so they can do it and sell work. You really have to take into it when you're being paid to build websites. You really do need to test the website on different kinds of devices. Different kinds of, you know, computers, operating systems, different browsers, like Firefox and Chrome. Well, Chrome is by far now the far and away the most popular browser, but you know, Chrome has, Firefox has some idiosyncrasies about it. It renders colors different. It renders pixels different. So things spacing could be off for a little bit. Back to what Sharon was saying, if somebody wants everything perfect. Somebody may, there's iPhones, there's Androids, there's all these different devices, and they render differently. So, on iPads, sometimes you end up having a whole bunch of extra devices just to see how things work. Fortunately, like for phones and stuff, I have a couple of iPhones. My wife has an Android, so we can check it on her phone and my phones. I have PC, Mac. I have a Mac laptop. She has a PC laptop. There is a function in Chrome, and I don't know if it does it in Firefox. There's an extension where I have to do it from. You can't see it, but if you right click on a page. I right click on a page. I get what's called Inspector, and I'm going to stop sharing the page. I'm going to share what the Inspector looks like. Okay. The Inspector, this inspects the code of the page and gives you all the styles and stuff for it. But there's this little thing here, you can click here, and if you click on this, and then we'll go back to the web page. Are y'all seeing the web browser with the Brian, can y'all see where it says laptop
Yes.
with MDPI?
Yep.
Yes,
we can
okay.
see it.
So what this little inspection tool helps you do is kind of preview what the page is going to look like on different devices. So we could go to, so this is a laptop with a medium resolution. That's a laptop at high resolution, but it's at 80%. You could go to see what it looks like on an iPhone 6, 7, or 8, and you can see how it behaves. You could change it, looking at it landscape. So I don't know if y'all have ever used that tool, but you can get the inspect tool. It's part of developer tools. I don't know if it's comes out of the box with that. I've used it so long I've forgotten. Do you know, Sharon or Brian, does it come with it automatically?
I think it's a standard. I use it and I think it's standard.
It's standard, yes. It is
Okay.
standard. And Firefox does have one. Of course, it's kind of funny. As long as I've been in the industry, we floated from one browser to the next, whatever is better for us to develop in. And when Firefox came out, Firefox did have all this too. We were able to inspect code and do all the same thing. And Firefox had extensions as well for us to resize and test. And now, of course, I've moved on to Chrome, and so I couldn't even tell you what Firefox has now.
Yeah, the only reason I'd have, I test stuff in Firefox, but I have one of my bigger clients is a marketing firm, and the lady who owns the company, for whatever reason, will only use Firefox. So I've got to make sure everything looks good in Firefox. But most in the United States, the vast majority of people are using Chrome, I think.
Yeah, the Firefox,
Alrighty.
it's still pretty good, but I think Chrome has done better with its development tools.
Well, it outpaced Firefox when Firefox used to be challenging Internet Explorer, believe it or not. years ago, and then Chrome came on the scene and started just coming up with all these new things it could do and features, and Firefox was trying to keep up, and their code became bloated and made the browser slow, and people fell away from it. Of course, Chrome is a Google product, and who knows if Google is giving preference to Chrome in any way, but
Of course
anyway,
it is.
Chrome is the,
Just 2 comments.
you know,
Two comments.
they're I think Google and Amazon are in league to try to take over the world. You know, I used to say that about Microsoft, but
Yeah, they fell way behind.
Just 2
So-
comments, Gary.
Yeah.
Chrome has 2/3 of the market. They run about 65, 66% of the share, and Firefox runs in about 20%. And regarding Internet Explorer, I only use it for one thing, which is good for download Chrome. That's the only use.
yeah, Internet Explorer is, and that would be something that you'd want to be clear with your clients on, that which browsers you will design for, because there are, believe it or not, there's some people out there using Internet Explorer 6. Well, Elementor, a lot of the features in Elementor just won't work, because that's an ancient browser, and even any version of, I think the last version of the Internet Explorer was 11, which is no longer supported and hasn't been for 3 or 4 years. I don't believe much of the features that are in Elementor will work in the Internet Explorer. Of course, Microsoft doesn't have an Internet Explorer. Then they came out with Edge, and I think they've come out with a new one after that, but I don't know I don't remember what that is. But okay, so
They still call it Edge.
do they?
Yeah, they haven't changed the name, but there was a new one that was released, but it's still called Edge.
Okay. So we have any questions for, open it up, not necessarily about what we've talked about today, but issues you might be having with trying to figure out something in Elementor. I'll quit sharing the screen, and we'll just
Hi, everybody. I have a question.
Sure, Christine.
Okay, I'm really brand new to this, so this has been very informative. But I'm building my website, and what I'm seeing, I was very interested in this view between the iPhone, the phone, the tablet, and so on. Because when I'm working, I'm on my 27-inch desktop, and I do toggle over to see what it's going to look like on the phone, and it looks good. And then I'll refresh my screen, and the picture on the phone will be completely stretched out lengthwise. What have I done? What have I done? It's like, what am I doing?
No,
Why?
you haven't done anything. You just need to change your font sizes so that they fit within the screen of what you're viewing.
Aha, there you have it. See, I knew it was a good thing to come here. There you go. So that's all right, because the font size, okay, that makes sense. There you go. All right, so, but I just correct me if I'm wrong. Each time that I look at what it's gonna look like on the phone, if I change something there, it's actually changing it on the desktop as well. All those things are just what it's gonna look like?
No, if you use,
It's actually the opposite.
yeah, if you use the settings in Elementor, every time you change the screen size, how he was changing it from mobile to tablet.
Yes.
If you look at the settings, it will show you that now you're in tablet mode. Here's what it will look like if I change the font to this size. So it will show you the little icon next to like the setting. So just go, Carrie, do you want to kind of show?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
So let's say we're talking about this, and we are let's go to tablet.
Yeah, show her how you can change it from desktop to tablet to mobile. Usually once you
Well,
change it,
that I know where to toggle it down there,
no,
but
that's changing that, but he's going to show you where you can change the font size for
Ah.
in each view.
perfect.
So we're
This is
gonna
it.
go to
And
tablet.
is that gonna work with photos as well? Same deal?
The photos you'll have to adjust. It depends on
Well,
what,
photos will generally scale, I
yeah,
think.
Ah,
But
okay.
let's say, now see here, we go to the typography on the
Change your
size,
screen.
it's showing tablet, so
Share your screen,
let's
Carrie.
say,
Yeah, I'm not seeing your screen.
You're not sharing the screen.
oh,
Share your screen.
thanks.
Share your screen, share your screen.
Share your screen. I'll be so happy. Share your screen.
Okay, let's see here. Let me find I got the right screen here. Okay. I always do that. Or not always, but do it a lot. Forget. Okay,
There
this
you
is where
go.
we're at. Let's go back to the desktop. So we're starting. Okay. So we got this,
Yep.
and looks like it's at 48. But I'm gonna go to tablet, and I'm going to typography,
Well,
and I'm going to,
actually, just go to mobile because,
Yeah, go to mobile because tablet usually is not that bad.
yeah, because it's not going to matter. Yeah, so here, it's going to definitely be better.
so let's say I make it 24.
So hold on, before you change that, see where it says size? Now you see the little icon that shows
Yes.
you it's in the mobile view. So you can change the size for mobile or tablet or desktop.
Oh,
Yeah. Now let's see.
I love it.
It's
Okay, great.
So now we're gonna go. Let's get out of that. Let's go to back to desktop, and it's bigger.
And see,
Now what
that's
happens
size.
is it will flow downhill. If I have it set at whatever I have it set at desktop, if I don't change it to tablet or mobile, it will flow downhill into tablet.
Right.
But if I change it mobile, it doesn't flow up. It doesn't affect the desktop. It only applies to mobile. Like if let's go back to if I clear this out, it's going to inherit from the
Right.
above. Let's say
Right.
I did tablet and I
Right.
set it to which is a tablet. Let's say I set it to 30,
Uh-huh.
and then if I go to phone, it will flow down to the phone, but it won't flow up to the desktop.
Got it.
So it goes downward.
Okay. Okay.
Gary,
And
I
yes,
think
sir.
it's important to talk about pixels, range, and all that, because that helps to understand the differences. Because if you set it up in, let's say, 50 pixels, it's going to stay at 50 pixels when you go down to a mobile. So it's going to be,
Mhm.
if you use range, the size is going to be still big, but not that much, because the initial base of the mobile is different than the initial base of the desktop.
Okay.
Better.
Yeah, he's right. And the pixels are
Or pixels.
just hard and fast. And then there's M's and rims, and that has to do with the relative size of your basic font. So like, and Sharon or Oscar or anybody, do y'all have a simple way to explain how rims work? Or
Let me put it this way. One rem is 16 pixels. And what the size, you fix it in a multiple of one rem. 1.25 is going to be 16 plus 0.5, going to be 24. 24. Two rems is going to be 22 pixels.
Got it.
But it depends on how big you define on your browser what one rem is. You can change it, and many people, especially on ADA, visually impaired people, they tend to change what the base font size is. So the fonts are going to grow or shrink depending on the settings of each person and depending on the setting of each device.
Right. And then this
Viewport width.
VW, yeah,
That's viewport
you
width.
want to explain that one, Sharon?
Well, it's taking the viewport meaning the screen of each
Right.
device. So normally these are set in percentages. So if you
Right.
want to do percentages, you would choose your viewport width. And as Oscar was saying, 1M or 1 rem is equivalent to 16 pixels. So instead of trying to convert all that, you can now just say, okay, I want it 100% of the viewport width, but be careful with that because you need to know what you mean by 100%. So,
Right. And it wouldn't really apply to fonts. It would be more to things like images.
That's what I'm interested in, because those images are like,
well, it does apply to fonts too. For instance, 100% is the 16. If you have it set to 16 pixels, it would still be 100% to that 16 pixels because you're using 100% to what that viewport width is.
got it. Got it. And so when it's an image, it's the same. Is it the same place that I go to when it's an image? And just like you said, I just change the percentage in the size.
Image is going to have different settings. If he clicks on his image there, it's going to show.
Yeah, that's inside a text editor. Let me add an image here real quick.
Yeah, there you go.
I appreciate this so much. You can't even believe it.
So see, he has, oh, sorry.
Okay.
So see underneath, you have some image settings that you can use, and you can even do your own customize. So depending on where you're using the image, if it's, like he had up above, just if he just wants it to spread across the entire screen, he can just use whatever picture size he wants, the large one. Change that to like a medium width, show her the difference that you're going to get. Yeah. See how that it's setting a certain size there. So,
and you'll see that it's picked up the styling from the global styles too.
Right.
And
if you change it to to mobile, show her the mobile view of this. So see, it will scale down to the mobile.
Wow, but that's really good. Mine doesn't do that. Mine goes like, it just stretches up.
Well, it might be set as a background image.
Yeah.
Oh,
You have to see what you're doing with that.
Like if you had let's say, let me get rid of this. I want to get right click and delete. Let's say I set that image. This is a section. I'm going to take the section. I'm going to go to style. I'm going to go to background type, and I'm going to pick an image. Pick that image. Now see, there's no content in here, but let's say that
But you have different, so are the different settings. This is how you know whether or not you're using a background versus a regular image.
Right, because I know I wasn't using a background image for sure.
Yeah, do a minimum height so that she can see how she can set that. So see how.
And I can go here, 500. Or I could go fit the screen and.
Yeah, but you don't really want to do that.
No, but let's say you do minimum height, which is what I did, minimum height. But then when you go into the phone.
Okay, and this is where you can change it. So if you did do this, you do minimum height. So
I did that.
So you have it set for desktop to this 400.
Okay.
Now go to mobile and see it's going to keep the same settings. So see how big it is? It's not even showing that. So in mobile, what you're going to choose, change your minimum height to something to more, mobile size, like 200 to 300. So depending on, but we also have more settings because you can't really see anything here. Go
Right.
back to the style. Go back to your style tab, Carrie. No, no. Where you were, go back to where you were. Your section, there you go.
Come on. Okay.
You go to your style. See underneath the image, there's a position for how you set the default. Most background images you want to do top center or center. Depends on what's in that image you want to show.
Okay.
So I would
See
do
what?
top
Look,
center. Yeah.
you can see that there.
See how to adjust
Go
it?
here,
And you want to make sure
and
you change your repeat to none.
right,
I
and
would
then you
do
can.
center,
But you see, but you can go bottom center and see that changes it.
Oh, I see.
Basically, it's setting the kind of where the image is anchored in that space.
I get it.
Yeah.
And this
do-
is helpful to know when you're doing websites that have a big banner image,
Uh-huh.
and if you have to take into account responsiveness. So, because somebody might be looking on a screen this big and somebody might be on this one, and you may want to have a particular part of the image stay in the same place. So you could do it top right,
Got
for
it.
instance.
Just to make sure that everybody can see it no matter what size screen they're on.
So, and
Yeah,
then
and then
no repeat. And then for your size here, I would do a cover. That's normally the default, unless there's something that you want to just contain. So most of the time we use cover because it will cover the entire screen
Okay.
in that
Alex,
section.
let me show you what Sharon's talking about. If you cover, see, it covers this whole, the image
That's what
covers it.
instead of having
Now
that space between the image and
Yeah.
the section bottom, right?
Right. So if you
Got
change
it.
it
Now
to contain,
Oh, perfect.
contain, it will fit it goes and fits the image in the space.
Got it.
But if you're more often than not,
Yeah.
as Sharon said, you'll use cover
Right.
and try to adjust the image position. Let's say we did center.
Got it.
yeah, I would do
That's
17.
perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, and you could make it a little.
And when you do that when it looks like that on there, it's going to still look really good on the phone, right?
Well, desktop, I would probably show more in desktop. See, like her hands are cut off now.
Right.
Here on the desktop, I would go back to my layout. So let's change back to desktop view.
Yeah, I think we are at desktop.
Oh,
view.
okay.
We are
So
in
we're in
desktop.
desktop.
So we could go to top center.
No, I would keep it center, so that way I wouldn't have to change it for anything else. But go back to
Center,
my layout tab,
Right. And then that way, if you go to phone,
go out and change, and your minimum height on my layout, I would change it to like maybe 500 to 600 so that I could show more of the image.
got it.
So see, and then
I
for the
see.
smaller screens, you just want to take that down. So yeah, so let's say we set this for 600, but for mobile, we don't want to use that much space.
Of
So for
course.
mobile, we're going to change that down. So yeah, he's already set it to 100. Maybe 200 I would, depending on what content I'm putting in there, I would definitely, yeah, to see how now I have all the hands. So
Oh,
200.
perfect. This is
Yeah.
great. Okay. Darn. This is a great call. This is perfect. Okay.
So on this,
Okay, and of course now you can add content over it. You could have.
And you could put a title, like if you want titles or something in here. So you use the image as a marketing message,
Right.
but then you can put words on top of that so that, your words, whatever. Yeah.
You can add your text here.
So then you
And,
use the image as a background image then, right?
Yes, that's
Exactly.
what we do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
This
Which is
it.
different from the image that he has in the content.
Right.
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 Looks like Marion raised her hand. Does Marion have a question?
Thank you.
Yes,
so
I
much,
do.
Everybody. Thank you.
You bet.
Yes, I do. I had to run it back and forth and participate in 2 webinars simultaneously.
Uh-oh.
So I've been running into my bedroom taking screenshots so I remember. So my big question is, are you recording this?
Yes, ma'am. Or yes, sir.
So-
I can't see.
Yeah, no, I'm a ma'am. I'm sorry. I do have my video on, but something's
It
wrong
looks
with
like
my
I'm
video.
seeing. Looks like I'm seeing your ceiling.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look. Okay. Can you see me now?
There. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Yeah.
great.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and where would I find that? In the Meetup thing, or do you mail it to us, or?
Since you have RSVP'd,
Yes,
you will get a notification if you
great.
signed up. A
Yes, I did.
notification with a link. I'll send out a kind of like a little notice, hopefully tomorrow afternoon, and we'll post it.
Whenever,
Recording will
as long
download.
as
We'll load
it's
it up.
posted, because I
Yeah,
missed a lot, but I want to thank you because whatever I grasped was so important to where I am in this process. So perfect
Good,
timing.
good
Thank
deal. Okay, so, okay, Brian, and I'm going to task you with making sure I stay on top of sharing my screen when I'm supposed to.
No problem.
Okay. Any other questions or things that you might need some assistance with?
Well, I'm gonna raise my hand.
Okay, Brian.
Carrie, you and I had talked about this issue I was having, trying to animate text.
Okay.
And I just wanted to pose the same question to the rest of the group, see if anyone else had any take on it. What I'm trying to do basically is have two columns, and the columns will probably be 4 lines of text. And when you hover over, say, the left column, every time you hover over one of the lines of text, it should grow. It should basically grow on a hover. I've been having the darnest time trying to do that. Carrie and I came up with a CSS option. I haven't been able to get it to all the way work yet, but I was wondering if anybody had an easy solution to mousing over text and getting it to grow.
Well, you could go use an icon list and dump the icons.
Yes, that's actually currently how I have it built, how I've been trying to play with it and get it working. So I'm using the icon list.
So we take this.
You can share your screen, Karen.
Okay. Put too many screens. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. So I've got this here. It's an icon list. Let's see. This is the first thing that comes to mind. If I were to go to text, topography, and it doesn't give me a hover. So, you certainly can do it with CSS. Are they linking to things?
I'm sorry, that's an absolute great question. Yes, they will be linking to things.
Well, you could probably do a menu.
Yeah, that's what I had tried to do, the menu, and add some custom CSS to it. I just dropped the custom CSS in. I made sure I was in the correct Elementor element, and then I dropped the CSS in the custom CSS field, but it didn't do anything. So I presume it was user error and I didn't input the CSS correctly.
Okay.
So Brian, have you tried to use the animated headline, or
Yeah, I tried to use almost everything within Elementor. It just doesn't give me that functionality. It does have functionality of other, types of animation. It just doesn't give you the grow
Ah,
on hover.
yeah, like, yes, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Okay. Because I was just looking around I have some of my text growing, but they're in slides,
Hmm.
which is easier to do.
So how did you do that then, Sharon?
Well, I'm sorry, I probably cut myself off. I have mine in slides, and so the text is coming in how I animated the text on the slide.
Oh, okay.
So, and I don't know exactly what you're trying to do. If you just want this plain text to grow, but mine is like what we were just playing with. It has a background, and then I put, it has a background image, sorry, and then I have text in front of that, but it's a slider that has text coming in, and the text grows. And when I hover over it, I can make it animate whatever I want it to do.
Got you. But you're able to do that because you have it in a slide.
Yes.
Well, but okay, let's see. This, I believe, is, what is that?
So you got a heading there.
That's an H2. Okay, so and I think I set that at 436. So we could go to custom CSS and say selector. Of course, I may not have to have selector, but I'm going to say H2 hover. Font size. 48. See? Now it's not very elegant. There's some other CSS you can do with ease in, ease out.
Yeah, he can
You'd
use
have
the
to look
transition effect to ease in.
Yeah, you have
Transition.
to look. Yeah, go to let's look up CSS transitions. Ease in, ease in, out. And then you'd have to go in and read about this, because where you apply the transition is not obvious where you would put it in the CSS, but you can use transitions to where it grows nice, like let's see here.
Hey, Carrie, could you go back? Well, I'm sorry, finish what you're doing, but I have an idea.
Okay. I'm just going to go to, well, we'll get out of that. That's okay. Shoot.
I'm not sure if this is what he wants, but on that, wherever you're applying this to, go back, yeah, select that and go to the advanced tab and do the motion effects. Did you try this, Brian?
Oh yeah, I definitely did.
You did
That's entrance animation. Yeah, you could.
It just doesn't have a.
It doesn't have a hover. Yeah.
No.
Because if you did the zoom in, it would grow.
And you would think, and I've been working on this issue probably about a month and a half. I put it down a little bit during the holidays, but you would think it would have been in one of those areas. And I was like, well, a grow, you've seen it several times, but it's like, for some reason, it's not in either there or in any of the animated plugins I've looked at, nor trying to think of the other.
Yeah, you can do it with, I think you can do it with buttons.
Yeah, buttons, yes, it has, you can grow buttons.
And I thought about that as well and making the actual button color transparent so it wouldn't show.
You
And
can
then-
do that. I've done that before.
Okay, and then the text would
See.
just grow.
Yep.
Yeah,
See,
you can do that.
Try something on that button, Carrie. Turn the text to a solid color instead of it being light. I'm just trying to see if the text itself is growing or is the gold button what's growing.
Yeah,
Because-
well, see, you can change your, yeah.
Go ahead.
Go to normal and
Well, it's not letting me do it, so let me just go. Yeah, it's making it uniformly grow.
Okay. I'm seeing it now. It just was harder to see before, but I am seeing that click here. So let's use that hypothesis and just turn the gold part transparent and see what happens. Yeah.
no, change your background color to white or
Yeah.
yeah, or
I'm just gonna,
yeah. Clear it.
nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, let me
I
clear
find
it.
it very hard to clear. I don't know why it does that. Yeah, I usually just
Well, I'll
take
just make it-
everything out. There you go.
And
There we
see, now you can't really, I don't know of a way to control how much it grows. It doesn't grow much.
Well, he can
See
set
what
his
else.
font size, but
You
Right.
can probably set the hover font size.
mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Hover
No,
typography.
not here. I don't know if he's going to do it as a button or link text. How
Yeah,
about,
I
yeah.
really just want to do it the cleanest way. Obviously, the number one priority is the functionality, it actually working. But then second would be, what is the cleanest way to do it?
an Elementor hack?
Well, I'd still probably be inclined to do it with CSS.
Yeah, because
But
you can set whatever size you want
Okay.
and make a class for it and check your transitions.
yeah,
I'll try that then. Thanks. And that's really where I was trying to go is I was trying to weigh which was the best. Should I do it this way? Because I really am still too new to really understand what's going to be the heavier option. And it sounds like you guys are saying if you can do it in CSS, always try to do it there. If you have that weighty issue, that's a concern, I guess.
okay,
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
you bet. Anybody else having any challenges with something they're doing with Elementor?
Yeah, I had a question.
Okay.
So say I have an image with a header with a full photo image, and then I start to play with the responsiveness to make, to shrink it down to see what's going to happen in different screen sizes. There's a certain point when it stops being full size and just freezes. Is there a way to make it so it'll stay at the, another, not full size, but I'll see the full image when you keep on shrinking down the screen size. But there's a certain point where it breaks up and it just all of a sudden, the screen keeps on shrinking, it just crops the image more, if that makes sense. Is there a break point you set somewhere or control that?
Now, is this the image set as a background, or is it an image that's sort of in line in the page?
I thought I
know?
said is just well, can you show me how to make sure it is not a background image and it's an image in the page? Like this would be a header image. So you're saying that the background.
Well, now this is a background image.
I can't
Let
see.
me. Oh, sorry. Got to share a screen. Google Chrome, Elementor. Can y'all see that now?
Yeah.
Okay. This, it got this section has its background is this. Now, if I were to add a new section and add an image and choose that picture, that's different. Now this will tend to behave, they'll behave differently. See, that'll scale to the width of the viewport. But, and we have set this to cover, as I recall. You're gonna have to go back to,
So
What's
you're
your
saying
issue?
to use the VW, the viewpoint, and then set it 100, and that should hold it?
I'm sorry, can you tell me what your issue is again?
Well, the issue is like, say that image there, and you start to like move the screen so it gets smaller, just to see
Right.
what's look like responsive. And all of a sudden, it'll stop and it'll just start cropping it in at a certain point.
Okay,
And so I'd like it not to do that. So no matter what size the screen is, it's going to stay at, it'll fill the screen. The viewpoint would be 100%, I guess, is how you'd say it.
yeah, you always want it 100% on each device.
Right. So I've tried all those different buttons, but that's the button that's supposed to control that.
So this is not on a background image, it's on the regular image that's in like an article or something?
No, well, this is the header image, and I was just trying to set it at an image in the hero image of the header. So it'd be full size, and then I put things on top of it. So, but you're telling me that it could have been a problem that I set it as a background image and not as a full image? And how would I make sure I knew which one I set it as?
well, if you set it as a background, you can go to the tab for the section. This is a section, the style background. And if I get rid of that, I mean, I can set the color. I can set the background of that section as that, and or I could add an image. Usually in a header, you would have, if you're going to have text, or logo, or menu, or whatever you're going to have over, usually you would set it as the background image.
Right. I think that's probably what I tried to do. So I want to put.
And you'd have to play with it, the position, and the size, and then how your image is cropped. And there's also some just realizations that there's going to be some situations to where it might not look so good. And you can also, trying to think of a situation to where I've done that. Let me see here. I think there's a situation. Okay. You can have different images used for different situations. This might be really kind of out of left field.
Right. Well, I might set it as a feature image to be the feature image for the header image.
So this is for like blog posts and stuff?
Yeah, for blog posts and other.
Okay, well, that's a different, okay, I was going to go down a different rabbit hole.
But it does either one, or for the pages, either one. I have it anything that I don't then define as another header. I wanted to use it for.
Okay, when we talk about headers, let me go back to, well, let's just go back there. Well, this is the home page. This is more like a hero image, but if we go to,
Well, yeah, like a hero image. Say if it was a hero image and I wanted it to always look.
So now this would be a header
Okay.
in this instance, and this one's gonna tile. It looks like. Let's see. Yeah.
So that'd be like a repeat. So that, and then
Yeah, yeah. And some of them seems like it's been a while since I looked at this. Yeah. I'd be more inclined to have it set to grow than or to cover. But what you're saying is that when you go down, keep getting smaller.
then all of a sudden, yeah, see now it's cropping the image instead of it being the full size. I mean, just scaling down. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So how would I control that? So if I didn't,
Okay.
I want to just stay full.
Okay. So let's go. Let's see here.
If he wants the image not to scale down, then it just needs to stay in the contain.
No, I want it to scale down. I'm sorry, just the opposite. I want the image to scale. Well, I'm sorry, it depends how you mean scale down. I mean, I want it, so I'm seeing the full image no matter how big the screen is. Now, it's not cropping the image, it's keeping the same image.
So the background image is what you're focused on, right? As in a header, like he's showing here.
Say it's the background image in the header. That's right. You know, I think I had it set for.
Okay. Okay, so let's see what we've got, how this template's set up. And I'm going to go to the navigator, which is always very handy sometimes. And let's see here what we've got. It's using the featured image, center. It's not supposed to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cover.
Right, that looks like I said it.
So let's view page. There's no featured image with that particular. So the image grows and it's covering, but you're right, it doesn't continue to get small. Well, it's covering because I think if it got smaller horizontally, it wouldn't be tall enough vertically. I guess it depends on the size of the source image.
Well, I know
I
have another, this was like an Essence Pro in Genesis was where I've been using before, and it works perfectly with the Genesis theme in Essence Pro. But when I wanted to duplicate that using Elementor, so I could have more control over the different headers and things, it wouldn't work as well as the Genesis theme did. And I'm trying to figure out how I can get it to work as well as the Genesis theme did on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure 100%. How you would accomplish that, because if you have it set to cover, it's going to make sure that whether it's left to right or top to bottom, that the image is covering. But if the image is, let's say the image is narrow and seems like it ought to work. But it could be, well, I believe in this particular instance, part of the issue is we have a minimum height set. So it's not like an image that's free floating on a page that can shrink and down. This image has to be at least 325 pixels tall, and it's set, the background's set to cover. So when it gets to a place where if it shrinks anymore, it won't be 325 pixels tall. It stops shrinking.
So what would I do to set, should I play with the minimum height setting, and how should I change the minimum height setting so that wouldn't affect it?
Well,
if that's the problem.
Well, I mean, you could also use an image. Be careful. You have to be careful about selecting the image, but an image, you could use a taller image and position it such to where that there's room for it. Usually, I'll try to have an image that's close to the aspect ratio that it's going to be used at. So I'm not making, I'm not going to have a picture that this tall that's only going to show up this much because I'm wasting bandwidth loading that page up or loading that image up. So, but as far as the section for where you set the send the layouts, the first window you see, when you have the height, it's normally default, but if you set it to min height, and then you can set the minimum height in pixels, VH, VW.
But would I be
that's
using the VH or something, or not? We're just setting it to default. So you're saying it might be the minimum height that's messing me up here, and then I could see try playing with the minimum height to fix it.
Yeah, and try different size image, the image in different sizes.
So
that's my best.
let me just give you an average or the best background image size. When you try to use images for backgrounds like this in your headers or hero images or something like that, the best size for you to use is an image that is 1920 by 1080 pixels.
1920 by.
And the ideal ratio is 16:9.
Which is 16:9.
Your DPI, which is your dots per inch, should be at least 72.
Right now in Genesis, they told me to use 16:8. So I use 16:8 probably.
Well, that's a different ratio.
Yeah.
But 16:9 is more commonly used than 16:8.
Okay, so that's
16 by 9 is the like this general screen size of
TVs or laptops.
TVs, YouTube videos, that kind of thing. But it looks like we have just about run out of time. That was fast. Anybody have anything that they really need to know before we call it a night?
Did great.
Well,
Karen.
I really appreciate all the input and participation. Sometimes we don't get that, but it's good questions, and I appreciate the insights from some of the people. It's always great to have people who are knowledgeable as part of these meetings, because everybody knows something that somebody else doesn't know. Even if you've only been using Elementor for a week, you know more than somebody that's only used it for a day. So we can all help each other. So I guess with that, we'll call it a day. Let's see here. I think our next meetup is Thursday, February 11th. If you just for keeping things straight in your head, we try to do this the second Thursday of every month at 7 o'clock. So whatever day that falls on, that's when we do it. And so we'll be doing it at the same time next month. For the time being, we're going to be online. So you can join us from India or from Dallas or Austin or Galveston. Probably at some point we may go back to live meetings, but if we do, we may have a complimentary online meeting too that month. So anyway, we'll keep you posted. Appreciate everybody showing up, and thank you. And y'all have a wonderful day and stay safe.
Yes,
Okay.
thanks, everyone.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.